On the outskirts of a small village deep in the forest, a humanoid dashes through the underbrush, stepping over roots and darting between trees. All the while, their eyes are trained on their prey, following their mark they placed on their target. They stop abruptly, and in one motion, they get down to one knee while grabbing their bow and nocking an arrow. They mutter a few words of divine magic as tendrils of energy seem to envelop the arrow as it is pulled back. Aiming at what seems to be through the forest, they let their arrow fly. It pierces leaves and foliage as it sails towards its target when it suddenly sinks into the neck of a large boar. Tendrils of energy release and the vines appear from the arrow and anchor it and the animal to the ground, entangling the hunter's prey. The figure, pleased with their shot, makes their way toward their target but winces at the pain in their side where the animal had gored them earlier. Holding a hand to their wound, they utter a few words, and the same divine energy partially heals their wound. Silently, they make their way to their target till they are over top of their victim. They unsheath a knife from their waist and hold the blade to the neck of the helpless and dying animal, and they mutter in a small voice, "I'm sorry," as they slash across the neck of the beast, causing it to bleed out and die in mere moments. With a practiced hand, they skin the beast and proceed to separate the useful parts, the hide, meat, and bone, from the parts that are not as useful and would only spoil. Collecting their haul from a successful hunt, they make their way back to the village and are there until their skills are needed once more. This is the Ranger.
Welcome to another class episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, where you never know what you're gonna get.
Hello, I'm Tyler, and with me are Brad and Terry, and this episode is called Rangers, Hunters, Lark.
This episode covers all the things about the base ranger from the 2024 Player's Handbook that you might need to know.
Before we get started, I just want to say happy birthday to Pepperina, whose birthday is on September 15th.
Alright guys, so today we're going to be looking at the Rangers. Rangers I find can be a lot of fun. Now, there are always things that have been changing as we've been seeing as we go through the 5.5 edition, and I'm interested to see the differences from the previous edition to now with Rangers and what they have done. Are you guys excited for Rangers, though?
I am excited to see what changes with Rangers because previously I have not been as excited with Rangers, but of the changes with the new rule set that I've witnessed so far, I've been quite impressed with them. So I have a good feeling about Rangers.
Good.
Yeah, I've got a few thoughts on Rangers. There's been a lot of changes, some really good, some really not good, and we're going to get into it here. But overall, I think it's a positive thing for Rangers players.
Good. I'm excited to delve into it. So let's see what the PHB says more about the history and the lore of them. They really are kept to themselves, or at least away from cities and from busy villages. They prefer to be on their own or in small packs, really was what it is. And I love how the PHB tells it of how they like to hunt like an animal hunts. That they move and they pounce like an animal, which I find is an interesting way for them to describe a ranger. But it's quite true. But they also have this very strong connection to nature and the primal forces of the wilderness, which it allows them to cast magic and to do stuff of that sort. And that's really what we have for kind of the lore behind them. But if we were to look at kind of the themes that the ranger has, they're really the protectors of the world from monsters and tyrants, according to the PHP. That's a big title, but I would imagine that's more so come from the forest, or come from wherever they're from, really. But really, they're hired mercenaries, if you think about it, or guides. Mm-hmm. That's what they're mainly used for. They're gatherers and hunters, they're guides, because they don't always get well with others.
Yeah, that fits kind of the flavor, right? And that's carried on through editions.
It is. Now, that isn't saying that you as a player character need to play it that way, but that's typically what they are coming from.
Yeah.
So try and build it from there.
Yeah, if you're going to play it that way, be careful.
Yeah, be careful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a collaborative game.
It
if
is,
you have
yeah.
a player character who is an outcast or awkward with the collaboration, you're setting yourself up for a tough 3 years.
Aragorn's a pretty good example, right? Where he is a lone wolf kind of character, but when it's time to get in with the party, he recognizes that that's the role.
Exactly. That's character development.
It's not selfish within
Exactly.
that.
That's good. Speaking of someone like Aragorn, let's look at some stereotypes of Rangers. Generally, they are the long-ranged fighter. When we're thinking D&D, when you think of Ranger, they're the ones way far back, firing from 120 feet or so, because everyone needs a sniper.
Sure.
But they also they're different from a fighter, because a fighter you can be an archer and firing long range. It's the Ranger also has these abilities to be a support character as well.
Yes.
They can be a person healing, and really, if you think about it, they're more the battlefield control.
Yes.
Is what they're typically there for, with the different spells that they have they can use. And thing is, though, what I love is they can take a hit.
They got a decent hit die.
They have a D10 hit dice.
Yeah.
Now, is that different from 5th
No,
edition?
it's the same.
I think it is.
Was it D10
I was trying to think it was
fifth
D10
edition
and
as
D8.
well?
You know what? We got the book behind you. Why don't you pull that out?
Yeah. Adam, you have too many books. Let's take a look here.
AI is telling me it was a D10 in the 2014.
I thought it was
rule
still,
set.
yeah. I think it was 3.5 they had D8.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it hasn't changed since the previous edition, but I like that Rangers have that ability to take a hit because they can be up and close, or if they are away from the party, they can survive until someone gets to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really great thing. But stepping away from the combat, let's take a step back from the combat pillar. These guys are the leaders when it comes to exploration pillar. The abilities they have, the things they can do, that's who they are. Which I think is really fun. And we don't play with enough.
Yeah, I think that has been the challenge previously is a lot of parties or DMs, however, the table dynamic really is guilty of not leaning into the exploration pillar as much.
Mm-hmm.
Some tables are really roleplay heavy, combat heavy, or both, but rarely exploration heavy, which is why I think Rangers have been underused so much.
Which we're going to get into a little bit later, but they have gutted the exploration pillar from the Ranger in this edition. So we'll discuss in a little bit. We'll get into this.
Yeah, I want to hear it. But before we do that, let's look a bit at the species that are generally used with them, as well as the backgrounds, which have taken a big forefront in this edition, which is amazing. But if we were to think of the different species that there are, the common ones you're going to have are elves and halflings.
Orcs as well, I think.
Yeah, I
fit
think
a Ranger really well.
Yeah, you're right.
Beastmasters, yeah.
Somebody that's out in the wild.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. But elves are kind of the token Ranger, I find.
Absolutely.
They're the classic.
Undeniably.
Yeah.
But if we were to think of backgrounds that they have in the PHB here, one that stands out obviously is Guide.
Obviously, yeah.
I would also venture to say the Hermit, because they don't like being around people as much.
Yeah.
But one that I find I just gravitate towards is Artisan. Because if they're slaying their prey and collecting the things, they can make their own. They're tanning their own leather hide. They're creating equipment. Like, they can be an artisan in this. But have fun with it. Be any background you want. But yeah. Now, obviously, if they're a long-range fighter, what are they going to be using for a weapon? A bow. Usually a longbow just to get that range of 120 feet. But again, your Rangers can be up close, but I'm going to say stereotypically, they're going to be the long range.
If you're sticking to the stereotypes, absolutely.
Exactly. But also, usually they're going to have some sort of spell foci. Something. Maybe it's the bow they're using. Maybe it's a necklace they're wearing that they got from a kill. It's going to be something that ties them to this nature that they get their powers from. But what I find interesting is the spells. Again, this is what separates a Ranger from a fighter who's an archer.
Absolutely.
And so if we look at some of the common spells we have Ensnaring Strike. There's Hail of Thorns, Cure Wounds. These are going to be your typical spells as a ranger. But as we all know, the most common one, so much so that it's even hard-baked into the class, which we're going to find out later, is Hunter's Mark.
Yeah, it's been a staple for generations.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, generations at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, a couple spells that I find interesting that are not in the PHP in this edition. One is Find Familiar. Is not in the spell list. I know often that rangers like to have a familiar.
Strange, yeah.
Now you have to take a specific subclass for it.
Yeah. That said, I mean, familiars are more magical in nature, right?
Yeah.
We think more of a beast companion with a ranger than really a familiar. But I do see what you're saying, and we're not covering subclasses today.
No,
but some
we're
of the we will kind of cover it there when we get to that.
Exactly,
episode.
and I'm as I looked further into it, I'm starting to see why, and I kind of like it what they're doing. But another spell that's not in there that a lot of rangers like is the spell Zephyr's Strike.
That's right.
Now, you might be thinking, why is that not in there? It's because that came out with Xanathars.
Correct, yeah. That was never a base ranger spell.
Exactly, so it's probably going to come out in a future edition. Overpowered spell that is amazing.
It's a fantastic spell. It is very flavorful, but it was never a baseline ranger spell.
Exactly, yeah. But think of this. How do rangers get stronger? What are some things that they can do? Again, honing their abilities, obviously, but also maybe collecting prizes from whatever they kill. Mm-hmm. And I really like this idea of players finding ways to level up. Like when they level up, how did you level up? What did you do? Oh, we accomplished this feat in the campaign. Great. What does that look like for your character? Mm-hmm. So I think it's always fun to think about this, of how do they gain more power? Now, as you mentioned, Brad, we're not going to go into the subclasses much today. I'm just going to mention the name and essentially what it is. So the first one we have is the Primal Companion. This is the one that gets the that familiar. And it's a ranger, essentially not just with a familiar, it's a strong familiar, an actual useful one. But you also have the Fey Wanderer, which they are essentially blessed by and tethered to the Fae. You have the ever-popular Gloomstalker, which they're the fighters in the shadows, essentially. And the last is the stereotypical Hunter, which this is the protector of the wilds. But let's bring it back a bit to the core traits that these guys have. They give a list of different skills that you can be proficient in. And they are animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. Now, what's interesting about all of these skills is that there's nothing in here that is dealing with people directly. You might say, oh, insight. No, that's them listening, off from a distance even. But there's nothing here that's dealing with people. It is being observant of the things around them. And again, I find these are a bit more on the exploration possibilities here. But again, it's how you want to play it. And lastly, if you want to multi-class with these guys, it says in the PHP that their main skills, their main abilities are Dex and Wisdom. So I'm beginning to wonder if you need to have a minimum of 13 in both of those skills in order to be a ranger, or if it's just one. It doesn't clarify.
Yeah, I haven't unfortunately looked enough into the multi-classing, but I think it's both.
I think it's both, because as I was looking into the multi-classing, it says that you need to have it in the primary attribute.
Yes.
And so since there's two here, I think you need to have it in both.
Yeah, it's a really interesting mix, but yeah, I mean, as a ranger, your spellcasting modifier is Wisdom, and all of your other abilities are Dexterity, so you probably need both. I would rule.
I would roll it as you need both. And if you're going to multi-class into it anyways, you're probably going to have that. Yeah,
I wouldn't want to multi-class into it without those two stats boosted.
Exactly,
for sure.
So, Brad, what can you tell us about Tier 1 and Tier 2 of the Ranger?
Yeah, let's jump into it. So we're going to start off right at first level. Let's look at what we're getting when we pick the Ranger as our starting class or as soon as we multi-class into it. So right off the bat, we talked about it already, but you get spellcasting, right? One of the key features for your Ranger class. Again, like you said, this is an indication that it is more spell-focused than, say, a fighter. You start off with 2 first-level spell slots. Interesting with Ranger, no cantrips. So even though you're a caster, you do not get access to cantrips as the base Ranger. You will be able to swap out 1 spell per long rest, which is a change from the previous 2014.
Ooh, okay.
You now get... Right, originally you could only swap out spells when you leveled up.
Uh-huh.
Now, like other casters, take a long rest, swap out. All right. So
only one spell, right? Or
only
two level 1 spells.
2 level 1 spells. Yeah. So this is probably one of the big changes right off the bat for spellcasting as a ranger, and it's really emphasizing the spellcasting, right? Pick your spells to your day rather than to your level, which would be longer term.
Yeah.
And it specifies you have the option to, you mentioned earlier, use a druidic focus for your spellcasting, right? So that was never mentioned in the old PHB. So there is a bit more of a focus on an actual spellcasting focus. So that's kind of a cool addition for flavor.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice change. At first level as well, you get favored enemy. So this changes. This is probably the biggest change to the Ranger from last edition, right? You used to pick back then it would be a race or a type of humanoid or something like that.
How dare you.
And that would be your favored enemy, right? So you would have advantages on them. You'd be able to track them better. That's gone. Completely wiped away. And has been now replaced with favored enemy, which basically gives you 2 free Hunter's Marks per long rest. And this will scale with level. We'll get into it down the road. But it is an always prepared spell, which does not count against the number of prepared spells you're allowed to have. Actually, you know what? It doesn't explicitly say that, but if you look into the rulebook, it gives recommendations for prepared spells, and Hunter's Mark is not on that list, which tells me that they expect that you can have that prepared and it won't count against your prepared spells.
It does say in the PHB that it is
always prepared. Yeah, you always have it, but it doesn't.
And it doesn't count against your total.
And it shouldn't. It should not.
I would play that it shouldn't.
But absolutely. I think they just weren't explicit, right?
Yeah.
It's inferred. It's pretty clear that that's the intention. But again, you get to cast that twice per day with no spell slot consumed.
That's pretty heavy.
So,
yeah, that's good.
I mean, that's base.
like
every ranger took Hunter's Mark. It was one of the most useful spells.
Absolutely.
So it just makes sense. And lastly, at first level, you also get access to weapon mastery. So we're not going to cover the weapon mastery rules in this episode because there's too many of them to list and go through.
Yeah.
So if you do want to learn about those, listen to PHB 2. That episode, we cover it. But you get to pick 2 of your weapons that you have that you can assign a mastery rule to. And again, each long rest, you can swap which weapons you want to actually have mastery with.
Yep. And if you are playing any kind of melee or range character like the Ranger, I heavily recommend that you look into the weapon mastery system because that is one of the biggest changes they've made, and it's actually really nice.
It will very much change the way you play.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
But the Ranger having the ability to swap that out, right? If you know you're going to be in a cave where you're not going to have much range on your bow, maybe you want 2 melee weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're out on the wild, maybe you want a melee and a range, right? So
Exactly.
you can kind of customize it to what you're going to be doing. And lastly, at level 1, something worth noting. You know how I mentioned earlier that they are getting rid of the exploration pillar even further in this edition?
Yeah.
You no longer get Natural Explorer in 2024's Player's Handbook.
Oh.
So that means you basically have no preferred terrain. You have no advantages when you're out in the wild. You can't help your party pathfind or track. In fact, by losing the change to favorite enemy and losing Natural Explorer, you are no longer the tracker of the party.
Right.
That's
They have done
true,
all
yeah.
of the statistical advantages that you would have gotten on dice rolls and things like that, wiped away. So
Ah.
now it is purely a thematic thing. You get no real benefit to it. So I mentioned earlier, I have some complaints about the Ranger. That is basically a big one. In combat, they have gotten beefed up, juiced up. It's fantastic. But they have been neutered in exploration. We're going to get into how much worse it gets.
Yes, Terry,
Well,
that's what he said.
Neutered.
Yeah, and I stand by it.
That's
All right, but that's the end of level 1. Let's get into level 2. So here you get a new ability, Deft Explorer, which you think would replace Natural Explorer. No, completely different. Deft Explorer just gives you expertise in a skill that you didn't already have expertise in,
Okay.
and you get 2 languages. Weird to add that at level 2. Why are you learning 2 new languages from level 1 to
that's
level 2?
strange, right?
Why is it not part of your backstory, and why does it matter that you didn't have that expertise at level 1?
Mm-hmm.
That should have been a level 1 ability. This is kind of the weird one to me.
I just like the idea, though, that they are getting
Sure,
two
but
languages.
in your first level, you're learning 2 languages.
Yeah.
There's something weird
Your
about that,
second
right?
week on the job. With
Exactly. Like, how long does level 1 last? A session or 2, usually. So in
That
2
depends
sessions,
the kind of campaign you're playing.
I was gonna say, but like,
Guys, I learned 2 languages.
at most 5 sessions, right? Maybe 4 or 5
I've
hours.
spent
You've learned 2 languages in that time.
That's why I haven't done anything this whole time. Is
That's
because
right.
I'm spending the
Spent the whole time learning languages. Really weird spot to put it. Cool ability, flavorful for the Ranger. It makes sense. I would have just put it at first level, but I guess they
Fair,
had enough.
Sure.
You also get a fighting style. You got this in first edition, but it changed, 5th edition baseline, but it's changed a little bit now. So now you get to choose one of the fighting style feats from the feats section of Player's Handbook. Again, we're not covering that. Check out the Player's Handbook 3 episode if you want to learn more about those. So you can pick any fighting style feat, or there is a new feat called the Druidic Warrior Fighting Style feat. This allows you to choose 2 cantrips from the Druid spell list and cast them as if they are ranger spells.
Oh, I like that.
So I mentioned earlier, rangers don't get them by default. So this is actually a great option. If you want to be more focused on your spell casting as a ranger, I would highly suggest looking into Druidic Warrior. And again, you can swap out your cantrips at level up, not rests, which makes sense.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yes. All right. And again, spell casting, you gain an extra prepared spell. So now you're up to 3. And you still have 2 slots to use, but at least you have a 3rd option for a spell at this point. 4 if you count Hunter's Mark.
I was going to say, yeah.
All right, that laps up level 2. We'll move on to level 3. This is where you get your subclass. Tyler already kind of listed them off, right? Beastmaster, Fey Wanderer, Gloomstalker, or Hunter. Again, we're not covering it in this episode, but stay tuned for the future episodes where we will cover them a little more in depth. Then also at level 3, you gain 1 more prepared spell, so you're now up to 4 prepared spells, and you get an extra level 1 slot at this point. So now you got 3 slots, 4 spells to choose from, 5 with Hunter's Mark. Level 4, now this is my first episode of classes that I've been on, so I'm noticing the change. ASI is now a feat, technically speaking. So at 4th level, everybody gets a feat, and ASI is just one of the feats you can choose. It is specifically worded as an ASI feat. That was the biggest change that I noticed.
Yeah, because it says, or another.
Exactly. And if you actually go to the feat section of PHP, it's listed there. The ASI is a feat.
There are also shoes and boots listed there too.
That's right. Now, does it matter? No. That's just one of those nerd things I noticed that they changed. And again, if you want more about feats, Player's Handbook 3 episode. That'll be your friend. And then again, 1 more prepared spell and no additional slots. Level 5. We get a little bit of excitement here. We get +1 to our proficiency bonus, so you're now +3.
Whoa.
You get extra attack. Same as in the 2014 edition. When you take the attack action, you get to make an extra attack.
So does that mean that they can knock 2 arrows at once?
Correct.
Oh.
Or if you're swinging your sword, swing again. So
swing away.
Yeah. Or more likely a quick release, snap on the shot.
Yeah.
But 2 at once. Either way, flavor it the way you want.
Exactly.
And you gain an additional level of favored enemy, which means that you get 1 more Hunter's Mark per long rest. So now you're up to 3 every long rest for free.
Which, when you're at level 5, you could easily be having 3 combats in a day.
Yeah. Or, needing to swap it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, Hunter's Mark is also for tracking, right? It's not always for combat.
Exactly. Yeah. Good. Right? That's a really good point.
So it's a lot more useful at this point. And then lastly, spellcasting. You now get level 2 spells. You get an extra spell slot to accommodate that, which means you are now at 4 level 1 spells and 2 level 2 spells. Not too shabby.
That's pretty slots. Good. Yeah.
And again, just a big reminder, you can now change out your spells on long rests.
That is really big.
So,
especially for a half-caster like Ranger.
Absolutely. You get a lot more utility at this point. That's it for level 5. We'll go on to level 6. You get a new ability here that was not in previous edition called Roving. This basically gives you your extra 10 feet of movement, as long as you're not wearing heavy armor, of course. And then you get climb and swim speed equal to your move speed.
Wow.
All right. So you are much more agile.
Yeah, that can have a big impact depending on...
We talked about, being a control aspect of the battlefield.
Yeah.
This is going to help you with that. Absolutely. Position yourself, do what you need to do, get in and out.
I've said for years that movement is underappreciated in D&D.
Absolutely.
You should be dynamic on that battlefield.
Yeah.
Exactly. You should be dropping people from heights.
I mean, they gave you...
People from heights, some people...
They gave you the hint in 5th edition when you can split your movement, right? That should have been the biggest clue that movement is king.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no changes to spellcasting when we go to 6th level. So as far as things go, it's kind of our most minor level, but that movement is, again, not to be underestimated. Level 7, here you're going to get a new feature depending on which subclass you pick. Not going into those. And spellcasting, you're going to get an extra prepared spell to choose from, and 1 extra 2nd level slot. So you're now 4 1st level, 3 2nd level.
More choices.
So 7 spell slots in a day. That's a decent amount for a ranger.
Yeah, for a ranger, yeah.
Level 8. Here we get our next ASI or feat. Take your pick. Now, a change from 2014. You lose this land stride ability. So back to my complaint earlier. You no longer... Land stride was the one where you nullified difficult terrain.
Okay.
You don't get that. You get your extra 10 feet of movement, but rangers no longer ignore difficult terrain.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh, now, that is sad.
Yeah, it might be tackled in some of the subclasses, but depending on which ones you pick, you may have that. But base ranger does not get free movement through difficult terrain. And then the other addition with that, it was plants were less dangerous, right? So you lose that ability as well, which also, again, flavor-wise, you are no longer able to navigate your, like, prickly vines and things. You'll take damage like anybody else. It's still difficult terrain for you, stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
kind of sucks for flavor, not the biggest deal statistically. That's it for level 8. We'll go to level 9. Here you get another proficiency bonus up, so you're up to +4 now. You gain expertise at this level, which is new. You didn't get that in previous editions, which means you get expertise in 2 new skills. So now you've got 3 skills with expertise, which is pretty big.
That is hugely beneficial.
You also gain 1 more hunter's mark at this point to your favorite enemy. So you get 4 a day. That's pretty decent. You also get third level spells at level 9, and 2 spare extra slots to cast with.
So by this time, you're having a lot of things you can choose from up to now level 3 for spell slots.
Yeah.
Plus the weapon mastery.
That's right.
They're having a lot of options here for, as we said, to be that tactician on the field, for being the battle master.
Yeah, it's a big boost for the Rangers here. So again, combat-wise, they're seeing a lot. So 4 first levels, 3 second levels, 2 third levels. That's a lot of spell slots.
That's good.
A lot of utility. And then lastly for me, we're going to get to level 10 here. You get a new ability that hasn't been seen before called Tireless. This gives you temporary HP that you need to use a magic action to get it. But you get 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier, and you can use it up to your wisdom modifier number of times a day. So you got +3 wisdom modifier. 3 times a day you get temporary HP for 1d8 plus 3.
I do not have that ability.
Yeah.
As I am exhausted all the time.
All of the time. Actually, this is the best part. So on a short rest, you can now lose a level of exhaustion rather than on a long rest.
Wow.
Oh, that's good.
So
that's big.
That's huge, right? So you get extra healing.
Oh.
You don't need to use a hit dice, right? So between combats, in combat, you have free healing 3 times a day, or whatever your wisdom modifier is.
It's temporary hit points.
It's temporary hit points, but that'll see you through at least until your next rest.
Yeah.
And again, being able to lose exhaustion levels basically twice a day, once on the short, or however many short rests you take. Right,
depending on how many campaigns
you take a 3-hour rest. That's 3 levels of exhaustion. Boom, boom, boom.
It's kind of like they are still leaning into the exploration pillar, but in a different way.
Very,
yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Like expertise, you can probably use more often. It doesn't feel as the exploration side of the ranger felt like you never really access it very often.
Yeah,
and even like exhaustion, which is.
But it's only for you again, right? So, I mean, at least you can push ahead, you can exhaust yourself and get back and then take a rest and come back to level field. But
I think what has happened here is that Wizards of the Coast was seeing what was not being used as much, or at least from players and what they were saying, and wanted to invest into the things that would be used more often. We're not saying that other things were not being used, but it's when they based it on what was being used.
I just think it kind of sucks because those things were actually really flavorful and really made sense and were great for the exploration pillar, but people weren't using exploration and now they've lost it. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, and I agree with you.
They should. I feel like they should have leaned the other way and made it more powerful for the ranger to be better with the exploration.
Now, as a DM, you might still give that to your character. That's up to you, or to how you want to flavor that.
Sure. Also, at level 10, we are now losing... we talked about Natural Explorer earlier. You're no longer getting the next favorite terrain. So at level 10, you would have had 2 favored terrains as a ranger. But you don't get that, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big loss. And here's the other one. Big flavor, big disadvantage. You're losing Hide in Plain Sight.
No.
Yeah, they took that out. So that is not part of the base ranger class anymore. So that used to be you took a minute to cover yourself in mud or whatever, and you gain +10 to your hide.
Now...
to your stealth check, basically, right?
It could be that they are putting that in a subclass.
Yeah, again, they're probably putting it elsewhere, but Base Rangers should still be able to, disguise themselves in their environment.
Yeah, or it depends on the kind of ranger you're playing, though.
Sure.
And I want to explore more in the subclasses, see what they do.
I mean, again, it was a niche ability.
Yeah.
You didn't see it used very often, but it does suck to lose.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And then, there's no changes to spellcasting at this level, so those are kind of your big ones. But that covers our first and second tiers.
Wow.
Yeah, Terry, what can you tell us about the third and fourth tiers?
Some pretty big. Well, I'll try and make it sound as exciting as Brad did there because you had me very engaged on the way the ranger is now. Yeah, let's go to level 11 then. So we're looking at, for your third level spells, you do get 1 extra spell slot here. Favorite enemy will stay at number 10. You get a subclass feature here as well. And we'll go into those again. But other than that, not too much that comes from level 11. It's when we get to level 12, that's when you get a class feature, an ability score improvement. And there's no change in spell slots here. Just ASI for level 12. When we get to level 13, this is where we get Relentless Hunter.
Ooh, I like
Relentless
that.
Hunter, which means that taking damage does not break your concentration on Hunter's Mark. Cannot break your concentration.
Notice it says on Hunter's Mark.
Mark.
So, but I mean, you're not having concentration. You're probably, as a ranger, not taking a lot of concentration spells anyway. So,
but that I find is a big thing, especially at level 13. Think of the combat play that you're doing here, or if you're trying to track an enemy. You're no longer going to lose that. You're going to know where they are.
Yeah.
Until you decide.
no, that's a great boon.
That's right. Yeah, I love that one. Prepared spells will go up to 11. We also get access to our first 4th level spell slot here as well. So if you think your 4th level spells example would be, we got some examples over here. I'll flip this page real quick and I'll give you some. We're looking at Conjure Woodland Beings, sure. Dominate Beast, always good. Grasping Vine, one of my little favorites as well.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite of those 3.
Yeah.
The other 2 are great, but that's probably my, if you're just looking at combat, that's my favorite.
Yeah, when we go to level 14, we get a new class feature, which is Nature's Veil, which means that you invoke spirits of nature to magically hide yourself. And as a bonus action, you can give yourself the invisible condition until the end of your next turn.
That's directly out of the PHP.
Yeah, you can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier as well.
So this is kind of replacing that hide in plain
I
sight,
guess
but
it is, yeah.
in a very different way, right? We're focused on magic rather than the natural ability to disguise yourself.
Which I always kind of like.
I mean, they are leaning into the spellcasting ranger, so
they want to really differentiate, because I know in the past there's a big thing. Oh, why don't you just play a fighter
or a rogue with a bow?
Yes, they're leaning into the casting side as opposed to being a little bit of a caster, but mostly a martial class, right?
Yeah.
It has a different feel to it now.
They're really a half caster.
Fully.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a full half caster. Brilliant. Okay, what are we at? Level 15. We'll get another 4th level spell slot at this point. A second 4th level spell slot. We'll do a subclass feature with level 15 as well. Once we get to level 16, we get a new ability score improvement, and you gain with 16. I'm in bad lighting here with my old eyes. What changes with the spell slots? Nothing changed with the spell slots. Your prepared spells does go up to level 12 at level 15, so we're still at 12 with level 16 as well. And now we're getting into those tier 4 levels. When we get to level 17, we get a class feature of Precise Hunter, which gives you advantage on attack rolls against the creature, which is currently under your Hunter's Mark.
It's wild that it took so long, but that's really powerful. But that feels like that could have come sooner.
Level 17?
Yeah.
I feel that should have been beginning of tier 3. Is what
Yeah.
should be there.
Yeah, like level 10, 11. That would have been great at level 11 ability.
Yeah.
I know, and we're up to big bads at this point.
Yes.
They've got your Hunter's Mark at
I mean,
level
you
17.
need it at this level for sure,
you
but
need that advantage.
Or that could have been part of Relentless Hunter.
yeah.
Yeah, we're going up to 6 for the favorite enemy, and this is where we get our first 5th level spell slot as well. When we're looking at 5th level spells, let me tell you, we're looking at spells such as Greater Restoration, Steel Wind Strike, and Tree Stride.
Ooh, Tree Stride's
Tree
fun.
Stride, yeah.
I like that one.
I didn't know that Rangers had the ability to cast Tree Stride.
I like Tree Stride as well.
Oh, it's great.
Prepared spells goes up to 14 as well by the time we get to level 17. So if you want to add Tree Stride in, it's not going to cost you too much to do so. When we get to level 18, a new class feature, this is Feral Senses. And at this level, it means that your connection to the natural world grants you incredibly sharp senses. So expect this feature to provide benefits such as heightened awareness. I'll give you more details on that one here. It gives you blind sight within a range of 30 feet.
That's not bad. Like
No,
blind
no.
sight. Well, blind sight's always fantastic.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no changes to the spell casting or favorite enemy or number of prepared spells. Just feral senses is what we get. But when you get to those higher levels, if you can have blind sight, that's exceptional.
Yeah.
And the thing is, so usually you see these blind sight is usually only 10 feet.
Yeah. Oh,
This
that's
is
true. That's a
30
nice.
feet.
Yeah, it's a big blind sight.
Mm-hmm.
But you're gonna have lots of stuff going invisible at that level. So.
Which is really good.
Yeah. Level 19 is where you get your epic boon.
That's
yes.
epic.
Yeah, that's right. We'll get another 5th level spell slot at this point as well, but no other changes. And then when we get to level 20, we're looking for that capstone ability, and it is the Foe Slayer. So as the capstone of the Ranger journey, you become an unparalleled hunter and tracker. So what this feature does is it grants you a significant and consistent advantage against your favorite enemies or any creature that you have diligently tracked. So what that looks like mechanically then, the damage die of your Hunter's Mark is a D10 rather than a D6.
That's
That's
awesome.
weak.
Well, I mean, yeah.
For a
For a
capstone,
capstone ability.
Yeah, you're getting an extra D4 of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would rather it be you get 2d6.
Yeah, double the dice.
Because the rogue is laughing at you at this point.
Yeah.
With their
Ooh,
attack.
congratulations! You might get an extra 4 points of damage.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then no change in spell slots or anything because you're maxed out at that point with your 2 5th level spell slots. Favorite enemies maxed at 6 as well, and prepared spells maxed out at 15.
Huh. I think you're right, Brad. There are some ups and downs there.
Absolutely.
But I still overall am liking it. But let's get into it. Let's roll some initiatives for some questions, guys.
Sure.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
That's a yellow.
Oh, nat 20 for me.
I knocked Tyler and there was no change. I got a 5. What's a 5?
5, yeah. All right, so, Brad, my first question to you is this. Overall, how do you feel about the updated Ranger class compared to the original 5th edition?
Yeah, so I kind of hinted at it, right?
Yeah.
In combat, these guys have gotten a pretty good boost overall, especially in the earlier levels where most people are going to see play as a ranger.
Yeah.
Right? The high level stuff, there's some good stuff in there. Some of it comes on a little late, but it's overall decent aside from the capstone, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a solid class. I really like it, but I don't know, just the flavor and the abilities that you lose in the tracking. I don't know. I really feel the pain of losing that exploration pillar. I think they realized it wasn't being used, and so they said, rather than lean into it and try and make it more interesting, we just said, we'll scrap it all together.
Yeah.
You're no longer hunting your prey. There's no way that you're getting a benefit to hunting your prey unless you already marked them.
Yeah.
You are no longer leading your party through, difficult terrain or through, a swamp or something like that. Flavor-wise, sure, it's still all there, and your general stats will at least give you an advantage over everybody else, but there's no abilities that lean into it. But considering that most people play for the tactical combat at this point, and it's very much designed around that,
Absolutely.
that part's great.
I would tend to agree with you there. Overall, I kind of like what they've updated. I do miss the exploration, what they've done to it. But I do like that they haven't just axed it, they've replaced it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as you said, Terry, it's a different kind of exploration that they're gearing it towards. Which I like that. It's not, here's just combat. No, it's a different way to play it in the exploration. And maybe this is going to affect how we use exploration now in D&D 5.5 edition. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to work out and see what's going to happen here. How about you, Terry?
Yeah, I quite like these updates here. Most of them, I'm enjoying the expertise, to your point, Tyler, different kind of exploration there. You probably feel like you're much more involved with the party. You can be more hands-on. Probably feel like you can use the skills that you want to use more often as well. What else did I like? What did I not like? That capstone ability.
Yeah.
I'm playing this campaign for 2 years here. I get to level 20, and I'm lucky that I did with the way that I play this game.
Absolutely.
And you didn't multi-class.
And I didn't multi-class, which I never do.
Yeah.
And I've never done in my life, and I will never.
And with the Ranger, there's no incentive to at this point.
You're a purist.
Yeah.
You might as well take a 1-level rogue dip at this point.
That's such a lie. I have multi-class. Not your point. My point saying that I wouldn't multi-class is such a lie because I have multi-class when Adam forced a level of another class upon me years ago.
Warlock?
And that was
almost always Warlock.
It was Warlock. It was Warlock, and I didn't have any choice. Technically, it was a multi-class. I only had one level though. But yeah, I'm not a fan of that capstone ability, which kind of, in a way, ruins the whole thing because that's what you're aiming for. You feel like you're setting yourself up for disappointment. But a lot of other things were great.
Yeah.
I agree, absolutely. So, second question I have for you guys is, what is a role-playing tip that you have for someone who has never played a ranger before?
So I'm gonna lean into some video game knowledge here.
Ooh,
I have been playing a lot of Monster Hunter lately.
Okay.
A little peek behind the scenes. We're recording this in April. The new one just came out a month ago. But you mentioned earlier the scavenging of parts and the making of things.
Yeah.
If you really want to make your ranger feel like they're part of the world and that they are leveling up in a way that is natural to the ranger, harvest parts off monsters and use that to build better equipment or to improve your abilities.
Yeah.
Now
right? Make yourself some potions, whatever it is, right? Whether you want an alchemist or even if you're taking the parts, find some flavorful way to use those to your benefit.
Yeah, and use your expertise to do that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. These bones are being added to my bow.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many great ways that you can use the teeth of the monster to put it onto a blade or something to give you an extra serrated edge.
Yeah.
Right? Also lean into the traps, right? It wasn't discussed anywhere here in the actual rules. Why would a ranger not be a trapper?
Yes.
Right?
You're absolutely
Setting
right.
snares.
Snares.
It's not just ropes.
Right?
It's,
I mean, why not set a net above, right, to try and catch something? You know, protect your camp.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps watch. Why wouldn't you set? Sure, wizards have alarm. Cool. But you could set
do
some sort of
nothing.
tripwire. You could set up some sort of trap to actually catch something.
Sure, yeah, but we've got some string and some tin cans. And
absolutely.
That's basically an alarm spell.
It's just as good, better, and it doesn't use up a spell slot.
Everyone can hear it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I love that, and I've never thought to set up traps and
Yeah.
little string and that type of thing for your camp, and I love that idea.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point there that I really like too. That I want to lean into is how can you use the ranger as a benefit to the rest of your party? We mentioned at the very beginning they're used to being by themselves, and it's character development to work with others. Think as a player, think how you can use your character to benefit them, not just in combat. Think outside of combat. Think in role-playing, in a speaking scenario. What is the role that a ranger is going to play here? Are they going to be the intimidating person on the outside, like an Aragorn figure?
Sure.
Or are they going to be in the midst of it in a place that they do know well?
Yeah, I mean, leaning into the role-playing part, wisdom is your spellcasting modifier, and we are spellcasting, so your wisdom is going to be high. You're going to be able to read people like a book.
Yeah.
You are going to know what people are thinking when they don't know it themselves.
Exactly. And then don't be afraid to point it out.
Yeah, or keep it to yourself, but be aware of it, right?
Yeah.
I made a mental note next time you're at the party, after you talk to this guy, hey, that guy was super shady.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff, right? Exactly. Right, you're going to recognize those traits and generally be able to pick that up with a high wisdom modifier.
Yeah, that's right. I think I like to look into the abilities and things like the movement, that kind of thing, because it informs how I would roleplay a character. If I know that I have that enhanced swim speed and climbing speed, that means I can move a lot further in a single round. So even when we're not in combat, I can get up, look over over the edge of the hill or whatever, or swim down and get the shiny thing in the lake and get back within a single round maybe. And so even if a combat does come from that, I can get in and out faster.
Yeah.
And so for role playing, really this is an opportunity to volunteer myself a lot more, and you don't feel as distant from the party as a ranger anymore. You feel like you can be immediately helpful, and because you have things like the different movements and expertise, that's really an excuse to role play the character in that way.
Yeah. Imagine being able to swim. I mean, if you're getting an extra 10 feet and you have a base of 30, 40 feet in 6 seconds, 80 feet if you dash.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being able to swim 80 feet in 6 seconds?
Yeah, exactly. And then just tell the
That's
party.
Olympic.
Yeah.
Tell the party, if I'm not back in 6 seconds,
Yeah,
you gotta come in and get me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It might take you a while. But
Yeah.
hey. So before I get to the last question here, I do have one question. This is something that has come up a little bit. What is something that you guys wish you could add that they've taken away from previous edition? What's something you wish you could add into this?
I want the tracking abilities back. Like, just like in nature, like pathfinding and scavenging, right? Finding berries, things like, I mean, it's the survival skill, that's still there. But I'd like to see some sort of statistical advantage over you versus, another wisdom caster.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I agree, to be honest. And I'm going last, so it doesn't matter what I think yet. So Tyler, you say what you think, and then I'll say what I think.
What I really miss is actually the hiding in plain sight. And you kind of get it with Nature's Veil level 14, but hiding in plain sight was earlier.
Yeah.
And you could have that. And I kind of miss that it was this way that they could easily kind of get that advantage. And right now with Hunter's Mark, you don't get that advantage with Hunter's Mark till level 17.
Yeah.
So to have that before,
Yeah.
that's kind of what that was. And I kind of miss that.
And I like it from a combat perspective because that allows you more undetected movement to use these movement speeds that you have. We were talking before about kind of controlling the battle map.
Yeah.
You can fight from range and you can move yourself into advantageous positions quickly. And if you had that ability, you would do it more freely. So I'm glad that I stopped myself, Tyler, because I agree with you.
Although with it being magical, you're now more able to use it in combat, right?
Yeah.
Because hide in plain sight was a 1 minute prep. Like, it wasn't, you weren't using it in
Oh, no,
combat.
exactly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So
for sure.
they have shifted it to being, rather than a prepared situation where you're getting the ambush, now you can kind of use it whenever.
Speaking of things related to hiding, just real quick, I noticed this earlier. Maybe this is me noticing things. I'm sure the spell Pass Without Trace used to be called Pass Without a Trace, and now it's Pass Without Trace.
I think it was always Pass Without Trace.
I've just been saying it wrong.
That is a great question. I think it's always been Pass Without Trace.
Okay.
But we can confirm that.
I think what it just shows like Critical Role have always said pass without a trace.
Oh, maybe
That's
that's where I
it's
get
just
it from,
people
yeah.
have get it now.
The influence of
My
that
gosh.
show.
Too far.
Stop it, guys.
Too far.
They must be stopped, to be honest.
So, last question I have for you guys. On a scale of 1 to 12, 1 being
12 classes.
being the best class. Calm down there, Terry. Calm down there.
Such a funny range. Okay.
It's a dozen, okay? Not a baker's dozen, just a
Okay.
regular dozen.
Yeah.
1 being the absolute best class, and 12 being the worst. Where does this class, the Ranger, rank in your excitement to try out at a D&D table?
Oh, for me,
Yeah.
it's probably number 4 or 5.
Yeah?
Like it's above the halfway point.
Right.
It's in the top, but it's not one of my like very preferred ones. I can think of a few off the top of my head right now that I would definitely play before it. But reading through this, they've definitely come way up on my list.
I would have to agree. Before, it would have been about a 7 or an 8.
Yeah.
Now, it's gone past that halfway. Like, it's going to be 5 or 4. Because of the changes they've made, I would still put in the exploration side into it, because that's the kind of player I am. But I like how they've made it more accessible, more playable for most people.
On the whole, it's a big improvement over 2014.
Yes.
You know what? I might say, sitting here today, it might be number 2 for me.
Really? Wow.
Because I'm excited to try playing a Ranger now, and I've never had the temptation to do that before. I like playing with a lot of new players, and with the new players that I may start playing with towards the summer, I want them to be able to be like the fighters and the smiters and stuff, and get into feel D&D for the first time that way. I'll just run around the background, drop some Hunter's Mark, just enjoy swimming and hiding and that stuff, and kind of play with the deeper stuff a little bit that the newer players maybe won't enjoy as much, or won't use properly, I should say.
No,
for that
that's a good way
reason.
of putting it.
Yeah, but the next class that I want to play is Wizard, so that's my number 1, and then I'll do this after that.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is very subtle. You're right. So a new player might not pick up on it, but a veteran player, there's a lot of exciting stuff
here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as we've mentioned already, there's been some big changes here. And I would say a lot of them are good. Some of them, not as much. But overall, I think we're all more excited about the Ranger.
Yeah.
The Wizards of the Coast have done a good job here at making this class more playable. And as I said, you want to play it. Rather than being, I guess we should have a Ranger, someone who can use a ranged weapon.
Yeah, it was like a utility pick rather than a fun pick.
And now it has become a fun pick, and it is no longer a fighter who can use a bow, or a rogue you can use bow. You're choosing the Ranger because of the things they can now do.
That's right. Well, thank you everyone again for listening to this episode of It's a Mimic. Your support, your ears, they mean the world to us. We would not be doing this show if it wasn't for you guys listening. So we really appreciate it. So we'll catch you next time on It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
That's all for this class episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. This episode and others can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and most other podcast apps. Please take a second to engage with a like, follow, subscribe, comment, or review to help push our engagement. Thanks for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
This week on the It's a Mimic podcast, we are still playing catch up because the computer broke a couple of weeks back, and we are just releasing the episodes and quicker, trying to catch up. It should take a couple more weeks. So this week, we have this episode, obviously on Tuesday, Rangers, but also on the Patreon, we have the next spells episode, which focuses on first level Ranger spells. Tomorrow, there's going to be a special mailbag that I promised, I think, like 2-3 months ago with the ladies. Had to fix a couple of audio problems in it, but it's well worth the wait. And then on Thursday, we're going to have episode 312, which, for those of you paying attention, after a class episode comes a dragon episode. So that'll be Peps and Casey and one of the other ladies sitting down to talk about blue dragons. And then on Friday on the Patreon, for everybody, that includes all of the free followers of It's a Mimic, there's going to be another freaking rant from me. This time I pop off a little bit about balance, specifically backgrounds and game design balance in general. So that's a short little episode that'll be free over there, so make sure you go check it out as well. But for now, let's get to some more good stuff. It's the end of an episode on playable classes, and that means it's time to talk about a subclass available on D&D Beyond in the partnered content section. This episode was on Rangers, so I want to tell you about the Corrupted Ranger from Obojima Tales from the Long Grass. Obojima Tales from the Long Grass is a publication that is very much inspired by anime and Asian cultures, and the art is incredibly beautiful. The Corrupted Ranger is based around the premise that there is a mysterious illness that exists in the Obojima campaign setting. And you have it. What that means is that you are being corrupted by it. You are cursed, but also enhanced by this corruption that's rotting, withering magic. It's taking you over slowly, bit by bit. And over the course of your player character's lifespan, there will be 5 manifestations. The first 2 you get at level 3, and the last one you get at level 15. And the idea is you are becoming more and more powerful as you sink into this illness as well. It is such an interesting premise to be a tragic character, with an absolute death coming near the end of this. The 4th manifestation gives you ailments that could be losing feeling, in a numbness in your muscles, failing lungs, or even your vision starting to go gray. But there are bonuses as well. For example, if your graying vision starts to take over, you gain blind sight out to a range of 15 feet. You can also automatically detect visual illusions if the investigation DC is less than or equal to your ranger spell save. So there's a positive and a negative that go hand in hand, and that's something that we don't really see hard baked into many subclasses. I thought this was really flavorful and interesting, and so I thought that some of you might as well. Obojima Tales from the Long Grass is one of the most beautiful and unique publications on D&D Beyond, and there are 10 other subclasses listed in the players section of this fairly large book. This is not a paid advertisement. I just really liked this, and I thought some of you would too. If you'd like to support us, we have a store with some merch and a donate button on our website, itsamimic.com. You can also head to itsamimic.com to find a comprehensive episode guide and more information about the show. We do have a Patreon, which not only offers access to our exclusive Discord server, but also hosts over 100 episodes, including a variety of bonus episodes covering topics like 5th edition book reviews and the campaign builder, spells and gods, fae, homebrew inspiration, and even the Blood War. If you'd like to submit any mailbag questions, please reach out to us through any of the social media links in the show notes of this episode, or send us an email at info@itsamimic.com. This has been an episode of It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.